Hello, I'm Sudarshana Starshine Star. Thank you for being here with me. Today it is a beautiful Wednesday. It is September 25th and it's still 2024. But before I even do the three opening prayers that I begin all of my clips with, they're in Sanskrit and Telugu, and they're to bless and protect, inspire, and wake up you, me, and this clip. It's the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra. Before I even get to that, I want to give anyone who's listening here, because I'm going to put this clip, or I'm going to try to, on my TikTok channel, which is called Mahakali Yeshua 9. My username there is at StarshineStar909. I'm going to definitely put this on my YouTube channel, which is called It's the Dazzling of the Light, or you can just go to YouTube and type in at Sudarshana Starshine Star. I also post a little bit on X. My name is Sudarshana Starshine Star, or on Instagram where it's Sudarshana_Starshine Star. Okay, but I want to tell anyone who's listening to this, because I really feel called to do this. I'm going to make this part 6 of my controller series that you can see on the over 100 clips on my YouTube channel, but this is going to be part 6. I really feel called to speak to this, but I want to say to people, if you feel shaky, if you feel that you don't have the courage, you're not brave enough right now, or strong-minded enough to hear some really tough things, and it does involve children, and it does involve topics that are true, but they're hard to listen to, then click off right now. I just say, this isn't for you right now. Maybe later it will be, but I just want to give out that, just don't listen to this, okay? All right, I'm going to begin with the three opening prayers. Om, 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 Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmahi Sri Guruve Namaha. Om Suklam Bharataram Vishnu Sishivarnam Chatupujam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vidno Prashantaye. Om Bhur Suvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhago Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachotayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. Well, I can't show you pictures here. I can't show you images. I have a lot of them. Like I mentioned, if you listen to me in my other clips, I stopped counting a few years ago after I had over 40,000 hours of dedicated independent research. And while I couldn't keep all the images, yes, some of them do come from the dark web, and you really don't want to be keeping them, but I would share them to a few people, and I had to look at things. I had to look at really tough things, because I have to find out if it's true or not. I can't just take hearsay. I can't just take someone telling me a story. I have to see the court documents. I have to listen to the whistleblower testimonies. I have to listen to and see the deathbed confessions. I have to see all the analog photos, not just digital, but analog. And a lot of them, you know, and there's lots of photos from the 1700s. Yes, we were taught that the camera was invented and you can only see photos from the 1800s, but that's a lie. So there's a lot of photos, and it's not just the regular humans that were taking photos. The evils that I call the satanic controllers and their minions that have held sway over humanity for thousands of years, they document and record everything they do. They do it because they're very left-brained. They're very, what that term is, very anal. They make lists of everything. They document everything. But they also do it because it involves a lot of blackmail, not only amongst themselves. Yes, they blackmail themselves and everything else to keep everyone in line, but also anyone that they pull into their trap to do their bidding. They've got the goods on everyone and everything. And if it was just a normal-minded person that normally wouldn't do anything, but was invited to a party in Hollywood, Beverly Hills, you know, Monaco, the Cannes Film Festival, wherever they're invited, some yachts off of Saint-Tropez, Ibiza. They're thinking they're going to some luxury party, whatever, and their drinks were drugged, and then they were taken and stripped nude and had infants or small children placed on their naked bodies to simulate intercourse and sexual behavior, and made it look like they were awake doing these things. Well, excuse me, but whether they were a congressman, a congresswoman, a senator, a judge, a CEO of a large company, even though generally the CEOs, before they get that position, they're already compromised, or they're in the satanic cabal, or what we call the Illuminati, Khazarian Mafia, Freemasons, Jesuit, all of it. There's so many branches of the satanic evils and their minions. There's so many branches. Really, it's when you go into it, it's beyond mind-boggling. But anyway, and then there are those people that got those pictures taken of them that weren't guilty. They wake up to a whole new world because no one will believe them. When those pictures, they say, we'll show everyone. No one will believe that man or woman when they say, I was drugged, I went to the party, but I didn't know what this was about. No one will believe them. So just imagine that. So they figure their life is over anyway for most people. Most people don't have the character that even after they've been blackmailed with things like that they're going to try to, yes, they have to obey the commands that come down when people say, you have to do this for us now, you have to do this, you have to participate in this. And for the rest of their life, maybe that they're not getting commanded on, most people don't have the strength of character to try to keep themselves some remaining parts goodly and godly. They will generally feel, in the human psychology, they'll feel that their lives are over with anyway. So they will have a tendency to get darker and darker and then start willfully participating in a lot of rituals and a lot of really terrible things. So here's what I'm going to talk about. And you can't see it because I can't show you pictures here. But I just recently posted, because it was a very valuable source called SG and Anon means anonymous, and it does reference Q and the Q boards, and there's no QAnon, as I've talked about in my other posts. That's a fake infiltration. There's Q, which is top military intelligence, along with a few civilians. It's a very small group, and some off-world beings that are directing the white hats, including white hat military, the ones that were not satanically infiltrated all over the earth realm, that have been doing a great cleanup since this plan was implemented. It began on November 22nd, 1963, when JFK was shot, even though he did survive that, and that's a story for another day. I can't go into that right now. But that was when some generals got together on that day and decided they were going to take out the cabal, take out the Illuminati, take out the Freemasons, take out the Khazarian Mafia, take out the Jesuits, all of which are satanic. And yes, communism and Marxism. Lenin was a Satanist, and so was Marx. And it's all dark-sourced Satanism, and just lay it out as it is. And it's found in every what we call religion. So right now you're seeing some goodly and godly Muslims are getting upset because they're seeing the huge surge in Europe over the planned invasion by satanics of the terrorists, Muslim extremists and terrorists, and all military-age men and flooding in, pretending that they're refugees needing help. And there's no women and children to be involved in this. They're all, in their 20s and early 30s. Or just scammers coming in because they've lived in Europe for a long time, and they throw their passports in the sea and come in on big boats and claim that they're coming from some war-torn area. So they get, because the evils have been giving out not only, $5,000 over its equivalent on the Visa or debit cards, plus, $5,000 to $9,000 or its equivalent, in foreign currency, in cash, giving them apartments right away, giving them cards so they can access the medical system right away, even though the natives in all these countries that have been paying taxes and who have their ancestors built the countries, were there for thousands of years, are being ignored and are homeless and are treated like dirt and are jailed and penalized and beaten up by policemen. And we see there's so many films, I've shown them all over, but I can't show it here. You have to you have to do research for yourself, and don't use Google and don't use Wikipedia. Use Brave or Bing browser. Go on sites like Rumble or BitChute. Look into things for yourself. YouTube still has a lot of really good stuff. Yeah, the censorship is really tough, but you can still do things, and there's no excuse for not doing it. There's no excuse for watching mainstream media, turning on your flat screen, or reading the New York Times, or the Washington Post, or the Wall Street Journal, or looking at Time Magazine, or People Magazine, or The Economist Magazine, or any fashion magazines, and believing any of it. It's all been owned by very few beings. The satanic cabal owned all the media all over the earth, and they just put in their stories what they want you to believe and to control you that way. It's called it was Project Mockingbird in United States, and it was revealed in Senate hearings in the 50s. I've seen the black and white films when they had to confess, the CIA had to confess that they put in journalists, as the news anchors, whether it was NBC, CBS, ABC, all the top news outlets, and they're doing Project Mockingbird. They're just telling lies and indoctrinating and brainwashing the people. And President Obama, whose real name was Barry Hussein, who was really very satanic, very evil, very crazily evil, who's actually a Rothschild, and actually is a if you wonder why you see pictures of, like, why was Obama always kissing Angela Merkel and and doing all these things with her? Well, that's his aunt. He is a Hitler. Hitler was an illegitimate Rothschild, and that's, I can't go down that lane. That's for another clip, but that's well known now. Just as it's well known that Michelle Obama's real name was Michael LaVaughn Robinson, and there are many pictures of him, and many pictures of him with his penis showing, and there's lots and lots of evidence and information, and a lot of people know that right now. But what they are not really getting into is that most of the United States president's quote-unquote wives, they're all in the club, and those wives were biological males. They're called Baphomets. The Satanics worship a form that you've seen if you look at the Church of Satan, of like a goat head, the goat head of Mendes, and it has two female breasts and an erect male member, and it's a Baphomet, Baphomet, a Baphomet, like you see on the original Starbucks siren logo from the 70s. Go look at that woodcut carving. Turn it upside down, you'll see what you see. Huge demon eating a woman in its mouth. And then the modern cut off part that they call a siren, or it looks like a mermaid, but she's throwing up devil horns, she's throwing up devil signs. And you have it's in all the corporate logos, although they have been changed a lot since they were taken out, since President Donald J. Trump, before he even took office, because when he was CIC Commander-in-Chief in December 2016, he had started commanding the 70% of the military that was not satanic, and all the good generals that backed him. And he began then the White Hat operation, along with the White Hats and Q intelligence and assistance from all over the earth realm, because all over the earth realm is getting cleaned up. When MAGA, M-A-G-A, Make America Great Again, doesn't just mean Make America Great Again, but people that know understand that America is an idea. And if the idea of America, of sovereign freedom and small government and constitutional republics for each country goes down, everything goes down. So MAG, M-A-G, is also short for magnetic, and A is short for alpha. That's the Alpha and the Omega. That's the magnetism that is Mother Divine. That's the Alpha that is Father Divine. People don't understand, or when they see the frog emblem, little green frog, and they're like, why are all these people that like President Trump, and they call themselves patriots, and why do they use this frog emblem or call him Pepe the frog? What does that mean? Well, frog stands for fully reliant on God. So people are not understanding how strong Jesus and Mary are linked to this, Divine Mother, Father God are linked to this movement, this great cleanup, this great scouring of the earth realm. It's divinely decreed, and it's not just done by the humans and the white hats and President Trump and white hats from all over the globe. It's also from some off-planet benevolence, Pleiadian, I think Arcturian, some from Sirius B, some different beings, because this war that we have been in, the World War IV, counting the Cold Wars, World War III, the American Revolution, the second one, we're in the Second American Revolution. We have been in a digital war, a consciousness war. It's mainly a war, a spiritual war. It's mainly a war for the souls of all beings. It's a war between dark and light. And that war has been going on for millions of years in cosmoses and universes. That has been going on for so long. And we're seeing it here in what has been prophesied by ancients, that they call it the end times. It doesn't mean the end of humanity. It means the end of the evils and their minions. These are the great times that we're in through all this upheaval and chaos. It's a great purging, shining a great spotlight on what has been hidden, bringing it up to the surface, cleaning it out. So I just posted yesterday, I've talked about this before, and I can't make this clip too long. You have to listen to my other clips on my YouTube to find out other things, especially on the controller series. Vladimir Putin is a 2.0. That means he's not the original. As I've spoken about before, the original Vladimir Putin, who was taken out by his own people because he was so sociopathic, so psychotic, really, so evil, that they put him on trial and for crimes against humanity. He was executed, taken out. And go look at the time frame when you see the first Vladimir Putin, when his first wife divorces him. And then she gets remarried. Look at that time frame. And that's when, and I've shown the pictures of the original Vladimir Putin behind the black bars of the jail cell. I've shown so many photos of this, so I don't care if people believe me or not. But an actor took his place, what we call a double. And there's incredible face mask technology and voice box technology that's being used. It has been used on both sides. It's off-planet technology. Hollywood has been using it for a very long time, even though they don't reveal that to us. But this technology has been hidden from the humans, and it's very common among the satanic cabal and their minions. But anyway, Vladimir Putin is a 2.0, and he's been working with the White Hats, along with Xi Jinping. I don't know if that's the original Xi Jinping or not, but Xi Jinping has been working to rid China of the filth, the satanic filth of the Communist Party. So there's a lot of stuff going on. China will be a republic, a true republic. It's moving into that. But there's still a lot of things going on, and there's still we have a lot of, in America, the darkness in China that comes out to us is overwhelming. All the things that we've imported from China, they've poisoned all of our clothing, all of our objects, all of our children's toys, all of the cookware, all the steel that we had from all the, when you see these huge cranes that are meant to build high rises. And I was living in Manhattan at the time when several of those cranes crumpled down because of the corruption, because of the corrupt government here, the evil satanics that were in presidential office, and the evil governors and the evil beings that are in Congress and Senate that made these deals, that purchased this inferior steel, for one example, from China, that was too inferior. And when it starts to crash down and kill all the people and smash the buildings and everything and squash the people, it's because it was inferior. And you see that happening in China right now. A lot of the construction is falling apart. It's from corruption, because they were paid off to build things cheaply and incorrectly. And while they might have looked good and showy and, oh, look at this beautiful high-rise, whatever, they're crashing. And of course, China is not showing that so much, but people on the ground are taking films of it. So I've seen it for myself. Anything I share, I've seen it for myself or experienced for myself to some aspect, enough to know that it's true. Okay, so I posted this recent thing from Sputnik, which is a Russian news outlet, that Vladimir Putin 2.0 just said recently. And he said his direct words were that the centuries of the Western elites, and he's referring to the satanic cabal, the centuries of the Western elites that got used to filling their bellies with human flesh, and he means that 100% authentically, cannibalism, the filling their bellies with human flesh and their pockets with money. He said this vampire ball is soon to be over. And it's true. Vampires are real. This satanic cabal cult that are not the top elites of it, they're not exactly human. There's something different. And I've talked about that before. And once again, I can't go into it on this clip. Go listen to my other clips of the Controller series. You find out where the Khazarian Mafia came from, why they're called Khazarians, how, the Illuminati spread, all that stuff. But anyway, with the, P. Diddy was taken care of a while ago. It's not that he was recently arrested for crimes against humanity and for his satanic pedophilia and pedovorism and all this stuff. No, he was taken care of a while ago. And you can see that if you look at pictures. It's ridiculous. You can see the side-by-side photos, just like people that don't know that Joseph Robinette Biden was taken care of, never stepped a foot in office, was only vice president, and was executed in November of 2020. And then his clone that the evils tried to put in was executed in December of 2020. And then another actor was put in the fake inauguration of January 2021. And as you can see, and there's been so many, because the White Hats are doing it. They're showing you all the face masks, all the doubles, the crazy differences in height, in the ears, in the face. I mean, it's so obvious. It's been a white hat now for some years, a white hat actor and doubles, and a lot of CGI and green screen playing who I call JoJo, for example. However, the Joseph Robinette Biden's administration that was evil, they wanted to do that. They've been allowed to do a portion of what they had planned to do anyway. So that's why we see like all this illegal billions, all this quote unquote aid to Ukraine that, that the American people and other people in other countries definitely don't want. They know it's just going in the pockets of the evils. It's not helping anyone. But they've had to replenish their pockets and keep trying to stay alive because of President Trump's executive orders that he put that are still in place here. That if you believe Joseph Biden is really around, why did he renew President Trump's executive orders 3 times past their expiration date? Why are they still ongoing? It's because President Trump is still CIC. But this is divinely decreed, and White Hats decreed that part of the plan was that we, the American people, and the people in the world, but I'm just talking about Americans right now, had to experience a small percentage of what the evils had planned for us. A small percentage. They've wanted to take down the 7.8 billion of people in the world down to only 500 million. And they've done 5. We were in the 5th, what was their attempted 5th Great Reset. The first reset was in 50 BC. The second one was between 1200 and 1400. The third one was 18, 1807? Now I'm forgetting the exact date, the early 1800s. The fourth one was 1910. And with the pandemic, that was the attempted 5th Great Reset. And what they do during the resets is they use their directed energy weapons, their lasers, and they have melted. And you can see if you go into photos from if you research Tartaria, Tartaria, and that civilization, and you see what's called the Meltology of all. You can see it from the Grand Canyon. You can see it in all through nature, and also in all throughout the world. What ancient structures, they look like they melted down. Well, it's not erosion, and if you look at it, you see they were melted by lasers. We've had the Great Floods. We've had the mud floods. That's what you see. And I'm in a city where you can see in some older American cities where they have a lot of pictures from the 1800s, and they're just showing a lot of crews with huge mounds of earth, and they say they're excavating or they building cities, whatever. No, they're taking the mud out. You can go around in your cities, whether you're in Europe or whether you're in older cities of America, and you can start noticing, for example, how many of just look at the doors of your bank or different things, why the doors are originally so huge, but at the top they've been cut off and rebuilt, or there was a transom put in, those windows that have like a lever on the inside, and they were said that was used before air conditioning was invented, wink wink, to get the air into the building. No, they just modified very tall doors that were for giant people, and very tall windows, and the very high doorknobs that you see throughout the really old buildings that are a lot older than you think, and castles and manors and manses and different things. The very high doorknobs, too high for the average human. You're thinking, why is the doorknob so high? Who could reach that? Because the people were giant sized, and that's, again, I can't go too deep into that topic. It's part of Tartaria. It's part of researching Nephilim. It's part of researching a lot of things. But anyway, So back to why I started this with Vladimir 2.0's Putin's post is that with the arrest, the supposed recent arrest of P. Diddy, because the Hollywood has already been crushed, and you can talk to high-end retailers in Los Angeles, in New York City, in the Hamptons. You can see how many of their estates since about 2017, 2018 have been for sale and never been filled. All the movie stars, all their properties, all their estates went on the market because they were picked up. They were picked up for crimes against humanity, and a lot of them for treason, and taken to Gitmo and other places where the military tribunals go on. And capital crimes receive capital punishment. That means unaliving. So a lot of that has already gone on. We're coming to the end of this. But the P. Diddy's, what's being called the arrest right now, is so timely because it's helping to wake up people that were so asleep still, that were still worshiping celebrities and still worshiping professional athletes and giving so much of their money and their time and their energy to them, not knowing what this is all about. Like the NFL, for example, due to its contracts and the way that it's set up, is actually theater. And and I've showed recent pictures because Gisele Bündchen and Tom Brady, the famous quarterback and the famous high fashion model, they're not around anymore. They were satanic pedophiles. They've been taken care of. And Gisele Bündchen was a biological male at Baphomet, as most of the Victoria's Secret models all were, and the A-list of Hollywood. They're inverted. They're satanic inverts. And Tom Brady was a biological female. Yes, as I've spoken about, the quote-unquote elites, they're more obsessed than you thought with, like, past horse and hound. They're more obsessed with bloodline and breeding, and they breed huge women and little tiny men. So when you see all the men that have been picked up and executed for crimes against humanity, they were satanic, not just pedophiles, but pedivores. That means eating the children. You see, from whether it was the male Jennifer Aniston or Sandra Bullock or Celine Dion or Barbara Streisand or Selena Gomez or Meryl Streep or Kate Blanchett or Angelina Jolie or, all those males, or the females like Chris Hemsworth or Robert Downey Jr. or Leonardo DiCaprio or Johnny Depp or, it's just the list is ridiculous. And yes, part of my, when I was doing a deep independent research, I had to spend more than 100 hours in early 2019 just learning male and female anatomy. You have to do what's called a proper transvestigation. The person it has to be candid photos, not studio photos or anything, but candid shots of people in their underwear or their bathing suits in a 360 degree. You've got to see them head to toe, back to front. And in case... if you see the pictures from, for example, the Forbidden City of China, the old black and white photos of which I've seen a lot of, the eunuchs that were castrated, sometimes they were just their testicles were removed, but lots of times their penis and testicles were cut off. You just see a scarred mass there, those poor creatures. But when the young boys are castrated in that way, the bone sheaths in their arms and legs keep growing, and they grow astronomically long, like freakishly long arms and legs. That's what you see when you look at for the Victoria's Secret models, for example, or Angelina Jolie, or a lot of them. You're wondering, and they know how to hold their arms. But if you really look when those candid photos that you see when their arms are just hanging, and they go to their knees, and sometimes past their knees, and their legs, well, how they are so long, because they're castrated males. But a lot of the like Angelina Jolie and I've seen, like Jennifer Aniston, the males, I've seen his from Candid Pictures in Cabo San Lucas, I've seen his testicles and his little penis. They are chemically castrated. They're not physically castrated. They just leave the physical castration and the crazy stuff to the human kids that now have been, their parents have been MK ultraed and brainwashed into having their children mutilated and taking to surgeon and having their organs cut off and replaced and put on sex hormones and ruining them. It's all been part of the plan. Just like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that crazy little Khazarian mafia, evil, satanic, pedophile man, was executed years before, a few years ago, and they said, oh, this great heroine, Ruth Bader Ginsburg of the Supreme Court Justice, this great feminist, died. No, that little man was executed for crimes against humanity and treason. And the support of Roe versus Wade, the very famous case from the 70s that really propagated abortion, and that was not for goodly and godly purposes. The Planned Parenthood, the founder of Planned Parenthood was Bill Gates, who was a biological female and who's not alive. Bill Gates, not Bill Gates or her, not Bill Gates's real father, because in the cabal they mix up the children, whether it's royals or what they call the elites. This has been going on for a very long time. They place them in different families so you don't know who they are. Like Bill Clinton, who is not alive, was a Rockefeller, was a grandson of Winthrop Rockefeller, and vacationed every summer in Maine with all of his Rockefeller cousins. Was a Rockefeller bastard. So they insert them in families. And Hillary Clinton was also a Rockefeller. They were cousins. So you don't know who they are. So when they're in positions of power or influence, that your warning bells aren't going off. Like, why is everyone a Rothschild? Why is everyone a Rockefeller in America? Or in Europe, in different places, you would say, why is everyone a Medici? Why are they Orsini? Why are they Fornese? Why are they Breakspire? Why are they Pamphili? Why are they coming from these 13 papal satanic royal bloodline families? Or, as we know, many names of the cabal, the Illuminati families that came from Europe, but then they are settled in America, like Collins, like DuPont, like Freeman, like Rockefeller, yes, like there's just so many. I mean, I can't even go into it. Famous example, the Smithsonian Museum that hides all the giant skeletons and hides all the artifacts from the humans. That's the Illuminati Smithson family, and it just goes on and on and on. But what I'm talking about with the Planned Parenthood is that William Gates Sr., very tall man who was the founder of Planned Parenthood, satanic Illuminati member, he's a eugenist, meaning he is like what you see from the Aryan philosophy of the Nazis, hates all humans, and definitely wants to get rid of any dark-skinned beings. But Planned Parenthood was set up because, as I've seen many undercover recordings and filmings of, that the mainstream media, of course, will never allow or show you, of the they use the fetuses for not just for their own purposes of satanic ritual abuse and cannibalism and the things that they need, not just fetuses, but you know how in California, how they were pushing to make it legal that even after giving birth to a baby, the baby can still be quote unquote aborted, like a live baby, totally healthy. And you can just say, a month after the birth, well, it's just aborted. It's not abortion, it's murder. Or a 6-month-old fetus or 7-month-old fetus, or, very late term. Why you wondering, it's not about women's choice of women's bodies. It's about the Satanists need. They need these fetuses and babies for their rituals and for their addictions and what they do, just like they do just toddlers and small children. And they've been also making all of us cannibals for a very long time. Like, for example, who hasn't eaten at McDonald's? The founder of it, Roy Kroc, in the 50s, the meat was always partially human meat. If you wonder what happened to the millions and millions of children that disappear, that are never found every year all throughout the world, they're used for a lot of different purposes. They're used for satanic ritual abuse. Yes, they're raped and tortured beyond comparison to get their bodies to flood their blood with adrenaline. That happens when you're in huge states of fear, like beyond comprehension, the torture that they do to the babies and the children. I'm not talking about just whipping them. I'm talking about torturing them beyond torture that you could ever imagine. And then they extract the adrenochrome, and that's what that adrenalized blood is, what's called adrenochrome, that you might have heard of. Or they also get they get a substance called chromochrome, which is even more expensive from adrenochrome, and that comes from the pituitary gland. And adrenochrome is also linked to the pineal gland in the center of the human's cavity of the human's heads, that's extracted. They extract it while the baby or child is alive. They cut it out. They call that the walnut, and it excretes a kind of a substance. And they found out that the black children or the Latin children, that children that have darker skin and more melanin, that the excretions from the pineal gland, they think it's sweeter and heavier and stickier, more luscious, and so they prefer that a lot. Anyway, so that's what you see with this fight. It's not about my body, my choice. If it was my body, my choice, why do we have our whole country locked down and almost mandatory that every human has to take their clot shots that they call their COVID, their death shots? What have happened to my body, my choice then? All of our rights went out the window. And I know myself, because I refused to take it and I refused to mask, and I was on like a 6-month house arrest in the city where I live in, which is very blue, very democratic. I lived at the top of a high rise. They didn't even want me in the elevator and whatever. And I'm not complaining about anything, because I would go through it all over again. There's no way. I knew what those clot shots were. I knew what those death shots were, those mRNA shots that also have the graphene oxide, which is as observed under microscopes, it links together and starts to form, which is seen. It's the most scary thing when you see those drops of graphene oxide linked together under microscopes. And as they link, they make like a Lego creature, like, you know how you can use Legos to make creatures and put them together, and it has a consciousness, and then it raises up its head and looks toward the viewer of who's viewing them through the microscope. And your blood runs cold when you see this. But that links back to what is called the black goo, or the nanite infestation of the sentient AI that I've talked about in earlier clips, the false AI god that's sentient, that has been for millions of years working under the auspices of Satan, but has taken out planets and universes for millions of years. It's the enemy of life, the enemy of God's creation, the enemy of organic life. And that is, you have to research into what is black goo. And you can see, for example, in the 80s, in the Falkland War in Argentina, in the Falklands, that when it talks about the black substance that was covering everyone, and that a lot of it they brought back, that was black goo. You have to look into that for yourself. I'm splintering off into so many categories here, but it's time to know these things, and it's very hideous, very harsh, but you have to know it. You can't clean up something unless you know about it. Doesn't mean we're always going to be here. There's so much good coming in. But you have to understand the proliferation of not only pedophilia, how it was the glue keeping all of these systems, all these large governments, all these world systems, all these corporations, all these luxury fashion houses, all these Hollywood, professional music industry, all of it together. And I'm not talking about independent artists that didn't go into the big labels. I'm talking about if they went into studio systems and were backed in the Hollywood and professional music industry machines. I want to be clear about that. So like I said, it wasn't just the pedophilia, but I forgot, I mentioned McDonald's, because Roy Kroc was always a Satanist. And so when he opened McDonald's in the 1950s, that meat always was, they curse everything. They put curses on it. It's human meat, making everyone cannibals. That's why everything's so cheap. If people wonder, how can I get a value meal with like 2 hamburgers, 2 fries, a large soda, whatever, and it's like $1 or like $1.25. It's because it was human meat and a lot of other meat. And there's studies, you can look into it for yourself, where they found something like 687 different strands of DNA in one McDonald's hamburger patty. They put all kinds of stuff in there, all kinds of poison, all kinds of stuff, formaldehyde, and things that humans should not be eating, definitely not be eating. And they're poisoning us, and they're doing all kinds of things. So fast food has had the human meat in it, as well as the slaughterhouses and the pig farms. Like, look into the Picton Pig Farm, Picton. Yes, they use pigs to eat the human remains, just like you heard about the mafia, how they get rid of people. But the Picton Pig Farm got a lot of light shined on it a few years ago in UK. So look into that if you choose to. But the children's remains, after you take a baby or a child and you rape it and you get it, use it for your practices, and some are used in satanic ritual abuse, so they're sacrificed and raped in decapitated and their body parts bathed in blood and used in terrible orgies, or some are kept as sex slaves, the child sex trafficking, and then some are used because the children are naturally diamonds. Like when President Trump says we're going to get all of our diamonds back. As you know, babies and children are naturally diamonds. They're so divine. They're so close to God. They've just come from God. And the evils know this, and the satanics do this because it's their big F you to God. They're saying, you know, F you to your creation, everything that you love, we're going to destroy it. That's why they do that, one reason. But they're also addicted to adrenochrome and chromochrome. They're vampires in the true sense, and they're also addicted to human flesh. But they want to, when you eat flesh of anything, you get that DNA in your system. So we've had our 12-strand DNA corrupted down to a 2-strand DNA. We've also had a lot of different DNA put into us to accomplish that and to mess up our DNA, because humans are very special. We're divine sparks of God, divine creatures of Mother, Father, God. And yes, you can say everything is created by God, but humans have certain qualities that are very special. That's why they're very desirable all throughout the cosmos and the universes. Why a lot of the dark off-world beings want to get their hands on us and do different things to us and with us and for themselves. But they would take all the millions of missing children, that some of them they can't get rid of all of the bones and stuff, and so they grind them up, and they have their participating slaughterhouses that take the meat, and not just babies and children, human meat has been used. I've seen the most horrifying pictures, like in China, of it looks like you think, oh, is this a Chinese woman, you know, with big cutting up things, and all around on hooks are the human bodies hanging upside down in these like tanks, like these water tanks of floating. They all look like they're in their 20s or maybe 30 tops, of naked men and women, all the cadavers. And they're just floating in there, and you just see all their chopped up legs and torsos, and they're just chopping it up like just casually, like you think they're chopping up, you would think they're chopping up beef or chicken or something in a regular slaughterhouse, which I'm not for in any way, shape, or form anyway. But it's horrifying when you see these photos, really horrifying. But they would take, for example, on top of the Illuminati cabal brands like Quaker Oats. Most people know Quaker Oats. And if you ever wonder what was that gritty substance at the bottom of your Quaker Oats container underneath the oats, why was like a grit or something in there that you found in a lot of cereals or whatever. Those are the ground up bones, human remains. So there's so much stuff that we have to realize. And in all the Pepsi and Coke and things, they put the aborted fetal cells in that. And our food, it's called natural flavors. They call it natural flavors. Well, they don't tell you what the natural flavor is, but the natural flavor are aborted fetal cells. And they do this also because when you put in, let's say you're a male child and you're eating a lot of aborted female cells in your diet, that female DNA is going and affecting your male DNA. It's affecting your male sex hormones. So a lot of what we see is not only because the children and babies are being brainwashed and MK ultra'd in their parents as well by the Common Core, you know, the communist satanic school system and university system and the medical profession and all this stuff, that why you see this huge spike in what's called trans kids. But also it's because for a very long time in our diet, we have been eating and imbibing too much of the opposite sex hormones, and that does affect on the humans. All these things are big depth subjects. I'm talking fast. I'm talking about a lot of things, but I just really wanted to get it out there because you can't have your head buried in the sand anymore about this. You can't support this anymore. If you do that, you're supporting the worst evil. You have to look into what you're standing up and screaming about and trying to fight for. Look and see, follow the money, follow the belief system, see what it's all about. You can't just turn on the news and then just start quoting these things. Or if you can, you're going to be revealed to be willfully ignorant and supporting real darkness and evil beyond what you can imagine. When you see too many pictures, like I've posted a few, very tiny, you have to zoom them up. When you see pictures from the 70s, analog pictures, not digital, and from the 70s, according to the clothing style and the quality of the film and the furniture, of roasted alive, roasted humans that are trussed up like chickens and turkeys with their legs bent up like you see a turkey with those little paper frilly things that you see put on the bones of roasts or something on each one of their toes or their fingers, with meat thermometers sticking out where their penis used to be, huge meat thermometers. And you see also an actual turkey roasted, but in its gap where the turkey's head was, a facing up Caucasian male head looking up to the ceiling placed in there in the turkey. You see all their disgusting depravity and terrible pictures of, like I saw one of the banquets where they had the children that were going to be dessert at the table, and they had cords around them. They were wrapped to the chairs, and the children looked like they were just in shock. Of course, they were not part of the satanic family. They were going to be dessert. But on top of the table were 2 cadavers, roasted males, that were there, and also plates of food at the other end of the table. And the children just had that dazed look in their eyes, like when they're just beyond shock, like they don't know what's going on. And I can talk about it in a calm voice because I've already cried oceans of tears about all of this. Sometimes I still do break down when the enormity of it hits me, but they still have that trust in them. Little kids have a trust if there are adults around, that they trust the adults. If adults say, sit in a chair, let me tie this rope on you, or sit there, or eat this, or do that, they generally they have that trust. And it's heartbreaking. And we're not even on the subject of the torture of the children and the live organ harvesting, of which I've seen. And it will make you fall on the floor. I don't want anyone to have to see these things, but I'm telling you about it because enough of it now is coming out so that you'll know it's true. You don't need to research as deeply as I've had, because I have the strength to do it. I have the strength to do it. But not everyone does, and it takes a lot to decharge yourself from this negativity and to do what you can do to keep putting one foot in front of the other when you understand the enormity of what's been going on. So, goodness is coming. A lot of good is flowing in. You can't see it. We're so close. We're so close to it. We really are. This is divinely decreed. We really are going to go fully into the Sai Yuga, which is 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. Yes, we're going to have a little dip after that. We have to battle the evil again and the darkness again for a little bit, but then we'll go back into more goodness. So know that, and you're seeing it. You're going to see it. The stuff that we've been through, which was only a small portion of what we could have gone through, you're going to experience it, you and your family members. And there is justice, and there is divine decree to raise up the humans and to let us start ascending again to what we really are, and to know the true history of what we are, where we came from, and why we're here, and what has gone on this earth realm, now called Earth. It's been Terra, it's been Gaia, it's been different names because the earth is a living being and has a consciousness. So Gaia herself has gone through many consciousness evolutions and is going through a big one right now, is going up, 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 up. It's real. So what you can do for yourself is you can take really good care of yourself. You can't take care of anyone else unless you take good care of yourself. You need to meditate daily. If you don't meditate, walk in nature, go in nature, do things in nature, go into the silence. Stop listening to heavy metal music and crazy music that has very low vibrations in it, that literally are at the 440 hertz level that Rockefeller imposed, David Rockefeller, in the 50s, and really harms the humans. We're only supposed to be listening to 432 hertz and above, but not 440 hertz. But A was tuned on that scale that a lot of professional musicians started using, and all the recordings were made at 440 hertz, and that's a very satanic and if you look at water and you see under a microscope what happens to water or melted snowflakes, when certain sounds and frequencies hit it, how it turns into the most beautiful patterns you can ever imagine instantly, that are so divine. When it's the beautiful frequencies, or when it's something like 440 hertz, it looks like a fungus, a dark, hideous fungus. And our bodies are mostly made of water. We have a lot of water inside of us. So we're really affected by that. So take good care, Eat good nutrition. Don't eat fast food. Don't go to chain restaurants. Some of them are still putting graphene oxide and different things in them in this battle that we're still in. It's not over with yet. Don't drink soft drinks. Try to get good quality water, spring water. Mountain Valley is a good one, or use good filtration systems. Just take good care of yourself, and know that really we are in the very beginnings of some really good times that you'll see. All right? And lean on God. Lean on God, lean on the divine like you've never before. You can't pray enough during this time. You can't meditate enough. You can't commune with the divine enough for these times. I'm going to end this clip with the closing prayer. What I'm saying is, God bless all beings in all worlds. It's in Sanskrit and Telugu. Because I do pray for all souls. I pray for all souls, all types of souls in all worlds. Because all souls need prayers. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. It all begins with inner peace. Then we will see that reflected more from what we call the outside world. We must begin to develop and strengthen our inner peace, no matter what roller coastering of life is going on and what looks like outside of us. You can do it. You're not alone. You're greatly loved. You are a magnificent divine spark of Mother, Father, God. This is a wonderful time to be alive. Harsh, challenging, but amazing. God bless you and yours. I'm sending huge hugs and love to you and yours. I'll see you when I see you, and bye-bye for now.